Hey, everybody here? See if you can hear me. I'm trying my webcam camera here. Somebody hit the chat and tell me if you can hear me okay. There we go. Okay, I'm going to try the webcam camera. Little laggy here. We're going to see. I actually, guys, if you've attended my other lives, God bless you. And you've seen that we've had quite a bit of laggy issues. This is a pretty old computer. I have a new device over here. I'm looking at kind of all kinds of like an octopus of USB inputs. So hopefully that's going to work a little better. Hopefully you all listened to the earnings call. How'd that go for you? Hopefully that was working out. Let me pull up. I'm going to pull up a couple things over here on my side. I loved it. I always love hearing straight from Adam and team. Also, forgive me if I'm kind of wiping sweat off of my face. I'm upstairs in the heat of the day. It's like 100 degrees here today, and this is the older part of our house. AC is not as good in this part of the house. So anyway, hopefully you guys heard the call. I know some of you wanted me to go live during the call. Pardon me, I'm just multitasking here real quick. And I guess two things. One is just I strongly encourage everybody to Adam and Sean and team, get it from the horse's mouth. You don't need to hear influencers. Listen to them. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is just in terms of the tech. I don't know that you guys are seeing I'm holding this together on a shoestring until I get a new computer or something. So I don't know that I had the tech really to play the audio from the earnings call while also being here on a live stream. So I know that would have been fun. Probably would have been nice to have a chat room to hang out in and all that. Maybe I'll try to figure that out. We got 3 months before the next earnings call. I can play around with figuring that out. But glad you're here. Whomever is here. I see there's a few of you, so that's cool. I just figured, honestly, usually what happens is I pour over the numbers. I go back through my own live tweets from when Adam was talking and all that. So if you're following me on X, I live post it, not live tweet it, and just have done since, I don't know, maybe even since 2021. I'd have to go back and look. So you'll get this post storm of like almost 40 posts or something where I'm just trying to basically live journal what Adam's saying and what Sean is saying. And so a lot of times after the earnings, I go back over that, kind of think through my reaction. Sometimes maybe I'll film a breakdown. I just figured, hey, what the heck? My time here on the West Coast, it's still, it's only 3:36. Maybe just kind of right after. We'll go through this. So, if you're just here to hang out, just hit the chat and you guys can talk to each other and ignore me. If you're here to hear my reactions to earnings, I'm going to kind of go through that real time. So not cracking open a beer here. Like I said, it's only 3:30. It's not beer o'clock yet over here, but I will crack open a bubbly. So cheers to you all. Happy earnings day to all who celebrate. And yeah, let's go, right? It was a good day. Okay, so first thing, why don't maybe what I'll do is, gosh, I haven't done this before, so I'm just trying to think. I think what I'll actually do, I'm going to just actually those live posts I did. And what that'll do is give me almost a going back through the tape, remembering, kind of what all happened, what was said. So let me just pull up X here. And what I'm going to do is end up sharing my screen on that. And then what I'll just do is maybe it'll be more like I'll give some color commentary to what I heard Adam and team saying, because obviously I'm just like furiously typing and trying to get all those posts out. It's kind of hard to keep up with him. And you guys have probably seen too, especially if you're following those, when Sean gets on in particular, right? He's going to rattle off all the numbers. And so I'm just trying to keep up and type all those out. Just randomly looked over at the chat. I see somebody talking about this morning. That was fun because, and Adam has done that a few times, right? I feel like he's kind of, he's getting a little cheeky with it. That's kind of a soccer term if you follow soccer or football for you Europeans. And so that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It means like, like if a guy pulls off a really clever move in soccer, you might say it's cheeky, like if he chips the keeper or something. And so third time, as I recall, that Adam has sort of, I don't know, surprised us with releasing the numbers a little early. And I kind of dig it because, the algos get set up. we believe some of our opponents, manipulators, distorters, etc., they kind of set up what they want to do. And so if he sort of has them on their toes a little bit, I certainly don't mind that. I like that. So what happened on my side, obviously West Coast, I'm waking up much later than he is. I didn't have quite as early of meetings this morning. And so then I get up and just like, hey, happy earnings day. Of course, I had a misspell on that. If some of you caught that, I think I called it Mundog instead of Monday. That was not Signal. That's not Decode. Just a typo, as I'm just barely getting up in the morning. Anyway, and so then I had missed that Adam had even already posted. So then, of course, I checked the stock like you guys, kind of waking up, rubbing the sleep out of my eyes and saying, whoa, we're moving a little more than I expected. And then, of course, you start to see Adam's posts. So that was fun. I'm just curious now after the call. I'm just going to look real quick how we're doing. Probably still kind of flat, huh? We were, yeah, just down a penny in after hours, so nothing big. One thing I'll cover too later, I've been hitting price to sales pretty hard. If you follow me on X, you've seen me talking about that. Don't know if you saw my post today that like the S&P 500 is trading at 3.15, at least as of the time I posted it, 3.15 price to sales for the overall S&P 500, which if you look is 11 times AMC's price to sales. So for AMC just to be priced kind of vanilla with the broader S&P 500 in terms of the sales it's bringing in, we'd have to go up 11 times. So we'd be at like $33 a share, and that would put us on par with the S&P 500. Don't hear me wrong. I don't mean to overpump. You've heard me, if you've heard me talk about price to sales before, go back. I've got a few videos on that. Not all industries are the same. I don't actually expect AMC, let's say post squeeze. I'm not talking about a squeeze, but post squeeze fundamentals. I don't necessarily expect us to be trading at a 3 times price to sales. Say it was 6 years from now or something. That's not really our industry. IMAX is probably close to that. IMAX may even be over that, but that's a different business. And so I'm going to just go check IMAX actually, guys. Just curious where we're at today on their price to sales, just to be correct about that. Yeah, IMAX is almost 4, right? So if you did IMAX, like AMC would have to be around probably $40 a share to be at the same price to sales as IMAX. And like, who has the most IMAX? It's AMC. You heard, we're going to go through the earnings. You heard Adam talk about how many Dolby and XL screens and 3D screens and things we're adding. So just as a point of reference, as long as you believe we're not going bankrupt, as long as you believe AMC will get to the part, and I'm kind of jumping ahead because Adam talked about some of our future, right, and what may happen, then just as a point of reference, so that AMC would have to be about $40 a share to be at the same price to sales as IMAX. Now, again, I just want to keep tempering that. I'm not suggesting, let's say I had never heard of AMC and I came to this and I was analyzing this. I wouldn't say, oh, I think it should be at that price to sales. IMAX is just very fortunate and is an extremely profitable, very efficient business model. But AMC is certainly underpriced in terms of stock to sales. Price to sales. Stock to sales, that's an old metric from my Nike days. Anyway, AMC in terms of price to sales is very undervalued. That's the point you should be taking away. And reminder then, as we bring in, I'll probably do a video soon to talk about as we bring in the Q2 revenue that we just finished. You saw that was what? Here, I'm going to even look on my screen. Like almost 1.4 billion, basically right at 1.4 billion. Last year's, in fact, I think I've got this in front of me also. Last year's Q2, like the same quarter, was only 1 billion. So what you're doing is you're going up by 367 million. Well, that price to sales metric now is trading out the 1 billion quarter for the 1.4 billion quarter. And so now the price to sales is going to actually drop. So let's say tomorrow or maybe Wednesday, whenever Webull finally kind of reflects AMC's new last 12 months, I'm guessing maybe even tomorrow, we're going to watch. You will see, I'm just kind of looking at my phone here on Webull. You'll see that price to sales is actually going to drop even more. So what it means is AMC's value is even deeper. If we don't go up, if the stock doesn't go up, AMC's value just got even deeper. The price to sales is going to turn into like I don't know, I'll make this up, 0.25 or something, whereas right now it's showing like a 0.28. So we'll talk more about that in coming days. Maybe I should just jump to doing this earnings review. But so that's all some exciting stuff. And if for those who want to keep with me, probably by the end of the video, I'll show you. I do like a compare of what did I actually forecast. That's why I post the videos before the earnings, So you can jump on me if you want where I'm wrong and maybe celebrate where I'm right. And then I compare forecast to actuals. So that's the way you kind of keep yourself accountable to like, am I actually doing this right? Can I get the numbers right? And so we've got that published. I've got the receipts. You could call me to task on it. But we'll compare the forecast to the actuals, and I don't know, maybe just hang out a little bit on a Monday night for those of you who aren't at the movies. So I got to share the screen, right? Been a minute. Here we go. Here's the button. You know what? Let me move something first so we don't mirror. Last time I gave you guys the infinite retail. Okay. Is that working out? Let me know if you're seeing the screen. I don't know that. Nothing yet. I saw you, Phil. Something might have not worked. Entire screen. Dude. Not showing on my side either. That is oh, hey, there we go. I think we're getting there. There's popping up. All right, we good? Let's make that bigger. Okay, I believe you're seeing it. I think that, yeah, there we go. All right, so I'm literally just going to go, what a boring stream. Stay with me, and it's of value. Because what I'm going to do is try to add color commentary. But I'm literally going to go through my own posts. I promise I'm not a narcissist. Hopefully the fact that I can even realize that seems a little narcissistic means I'm aware enough. The whole point is you got to be self-aware, and that's what keeps you out of narcissism or whatever. But all right, so I'm going to share a little bit. Let's just hit the highlights. So let's scroll down here. You guys heard, so I won't repeat everything because, I mean, some of this is like, bro, we listened to the call, we got it. So, Adam led off with talking about the amazing EBITDA growth. If you followed me a minute, you know that I'll do a more, really number crunchy deep dive. I've got that dashboard I do, the sort of, or a scorecard. I'll do the scorecard for kind of a post earnings recap. We'll look at versus last year. We'll look at versus last quarter. Of course, versus Q1, like we're just up on everything. The guys could have been sleeping and they could have beaten Q1, right? Because Q1 was pretty rough at the box office. But fortunately, our leadership team was not sleeping. They did fantastic work. And so there's a lot of great numbers to share. We'll look year over year. So I'll do like a recorded video of the scorecard, but that takes me time to pull that together. Let me just share one more thing that's just kind of fun. Hang on. Give me a second. I'm going to pull this over here. I'm going to go behind the curtain for a minute. From time to time, what I feel like I see is sometimes people will signal us just to say they see us, right? So we feel like this is, it's a hard journey. It's taken longer than any of us wants it to take. And so from time to time, for me at least, I take some, encouragement when I feel that, certain powers out there see us. Be that in the halls of power in politics or, Adam for AMC, et cetera, et cetera. So let me show you guys something that was just fun in my day. And I'll just let everyone decide if you think it's coincidence or not. I don't really care. That's fine. Sorry, taking a second to open something here, guys. Hang with me. Hopefully I'm not losing you all. I'm going to just show you a fun little signal I felt like I saw in the day. Speaking of waking up and seeing Adam's posts. Give me 1 second. I'm almost there, guys. I don't know, man, you're seeing my screen. Why is violent trending? I'm not going to go looking at that. I'd rather have a positive day today. Happy with how things went. Come on, paste in here, baby. Hang on, guys. We need to do like the old, these aren't, what's going on? Okay, I know what I'm going to do. Anyway, the old Mike Myers Saturday Night Live. Talk amongst yourselves. All right. Bailing on this. This isn't working. Give me a second. I wonder if you're even still there. I don't even see the screen that tells me whether you guys have stayed or not. All right. I literally have the computer on a pile of ice, guys. I'm trying to keep it from overheating, and it's still not working great. Okay, but we're almost there. Hang with me, and then we'll get back to actually talking about stuff. What I'm going to show you is me feeling like the boss is just reminding us he does see us. Darn, isn't this? And then you know what's going to be fun is figuring out if I feel like there were any fun signals in the earnings call. Adam's, he's honestly pretty clever, and you know, he doesn't share insider information. I don't mean anything like that. I don't like the decoders who pretend, you know, people told you years ago, Adam told me he's retiring. I got it from this decoder, all that dumb stuff. I'm not talking about that. But I am saying time to time, he just kind of gives fun little ICUs or, you know, little nods. So this, who knows? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. My detractors will take a shot at me for this. I don't care. So here you go. I'm going to show you something I had fun with, and you all can decide, was it coincidence, was it great minds think alike, or was it on purpose? All right, so last night, or actually not last night, yesterday afternoon, I was telling you guys, and you know, forgive me if I was overhyping, because then what happened, so all right, on the left, there's my post. I'm working on a video, the next video that I record, I think it's honestly going to be really big. I don't want to say what it is because I don't even want to give the shills a chance to prepare their narrative about it. But I promise you, I'm not just hyping. Like, in fact, I think if anything, as far as YouTubers go, and I don't want to even call myself that, as far as someone who makes YouTube videos, I underhype myself, right? I don't really share. I don't pump my channel. I just decide if you see value, you'll come watch. That's up to you. Like literally all these years, I've never even said like and subscribe. But I hope that then that means you can believe me when I say I think I got something big. I actually mean it. I'm not just going to say that about every single video, right? Like, oh, this is huge, and then you go and you're like, bro, it was kind of a nothing burger. So I feel like I've got something big cooking. I rarely do the all caps. I did that. Then I wake up this morning, and what did Adam say when he posted about our earnings, right? So that was just kind of fun. Like maybe it's nothing, maybe it's something, but I'm saying big all caps. He's saying big all caps. I don't know. We'll see. But I'll tell you what, and I'm just sharing with you, not about me, quite frankly, truly, not about me. What my point of view is, it's about us. He's saying, like, guys, I see you. I'm still walking with you. I still ride with you. So the reason I share it with you is if I could just gift that to you, that I feel like, you know, that's just one of those small little fun signs, just a nod, a salute, nothing big, but him saying, hey, I see you guys out there, and we're going to do this. So that's how I take that. Hopefully, you can kind of take some encouragement from that. If you're a person who, what did Kitty say, right? Like he put the signs thing. Are you a person who believes in signs? So I'm going to admit I took that a little bit as a salute or a nod. You know, you can decide if you think that that's not what he's doing. and he, I mean, I'm not a huge account, right? So maybe not. But anyway, all right, let's keep going. So adjusted EBITDA, did you guys see? So now let's go through what he actually said. Adjusted EBITDA almost 4x from last year. Right. And so Adam's been trying to tell you guys that we have operating leverage. For a while, I called it gross to net. When he started calling it operating leverage, I just switched to his language. We're just talking, if you bring in $1 at the top line, by the bottom line, how much of that have you kept? And when you have tight operating leverage, it means like, if you go back even to my first videos, 2022, I was talking about how much AMC has in the way of fixed costs. But that means as revenues rise, those fixed costs are staying the same. You're keeping more and more of your profit. That's that operating leverage Adam's talking about. So as the box office grows, and hopefully for us as, you know, popcorn grows and things like that, maybe more distribution. Love seeing how Eminem, you know, how the high ratings of that. I think it had like a 95% audience score. Obviously, it's his fans showing up. It's still very cool to see. Anyway, so as all those things grow, distribution, popcorn, the box office itself, our premium screens, then you're going to see our profits growing faster than the box office. And sure enough, I think the box office grew around 38% year over year. But here's Adam telling us our EBITDA grew almost 400%. So nice to see. And you know, I love that he's saying, hey, harbinger of things to come. You know, big word there. You know, harbinger is just something that says kind of, it's a signal, something's coming. So I love that. We'll get to kind of talking about Q3 and Q4 as well. Maybe I'll hold that because Adam talks about that, so we're about to see all of that. But I will tell you that I have been kind of holding off making my Q3 forecast, in part because I wanted to see Weapons and Freakier Friday land and see how they landed, which Weapons is doing fantastic. I think that's outperforming Freakier Friday about where I thought. So I'll publish that now. I do have a point of view on the quarter, and I will just tell you everything that Sean and Adam said is also my point of view. Q3 feels a little softer, but still, you know, way, way, way better than Q1. So I don't mean to like FUD you on that, but feels softer than Q2, and then Q4 looks phenomenal. Like maybe we start setting records in Q4. I'm really looking forward to that. I mean, just say Avatar alone, you'd already be going, okay, that's a decent quarter. But then we have like Wicked, and we have Zootopia 2, we have Five Nights at Freddy's 2, we have SpongeBob. I know yeah, I'm missing a couple. I'll go back and see what we had. But anyway, we got a lot of big movies in Q4. So that's going to be a great quarter, in which my forecasts do show it. So back to back here pretty soon. I think I'll make a Q3 and a Q4 forecast for you all. Anyway, so then he's reiterating, hey, we had all this attendance growth in terms of like market share. We had revenue growth, EBITDA growth. Don't miss cash from operations. So there's two cash numbers you'll get from him. There's a cash from operations. Then you heard Sean talk about a free cash flow number that I'm going to hit. There's two numbers because what happens, and really there's three numbers, right? We're going to have cash from operations, I guess four. You're going to have EBITDA, you're going to have free cash flow, and you're going to have our overall earnings or our net income. I'll talk about all those. I'll do the earnings deep dive, like recorded video soon. Anyway, the point is cash from operations kind of higher up on the income statement. It's a high level number. And so it's just, you take, here was our revenue, and here's kind of the operations expenses, and how much money did we kind of contribute just because we had the doors open, because we had our business going. Did we contribute or did we kind of burn money? You know, the shills have always liked to tell you about cash burn. But so you can see here, I think that was up here, wasn't it? Our net cash from operations, $138 million. So we brought in $138 million, and that's $173 million improvement just from that Q1, which tells you how rough Q1 was, right? And so positive cash flows, right? And so that is one of the big things that Adam and Sean have said, hey, the last 9 months combined, doesn't mean every month, last 9 months combined, that we would have positive cash flows. And I had said that as well, and I still believe that, especially with how strong Q4 is going to be. Hey, just to check in, are you guys still hearing and seeing me? I just want to make sure it's still going okay. I guess I haven't seen anybody saying, hey, you're gone, you're glitching, whatever. So hopefully not. Anyway, so positive cash flows is a major death blow, honestly, to the short thesis, right? They're waiting on us to go bankrupt. They want to talk, and you can just think of who the accounts are. You guys know who the accounts are. They're going to pretend they're with you, but they're going to talk nonstop about cash burn. But they're losing that talking point, right? They can't talk about cash burn because we're generating cash. So that's why I focus on that so much. Love that. Boy, did you see the per person, contributions, right? So we had over $12 a person for ticket prices. Like, geez. Now that's combined with you got IMAX and our XL screens now, and Dolby and 3D. Combine all of those, and then our normal screens, or so-called normal screens. And so we had 12 plus a person. And so, geez, when people are coming, they're willing to pay a lot. That's what Adam was saying. And we're going to get to talking about our Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I don't know about you guys, but I had turned in some retail questions, and I did hear him answer all of my questions on that. So we'll kind of get to that too. I think some positive things. Those started in Q3, right? So it's not necessarily happening just yet. But anyway, so people paying over $12 per ticket, people paying almost $8 a person for food and beverage. I did not have that on my bingo card. So when I get to talking about the forecast, we definitely beat my numbers in terms of ticket price per person and food and beverage per person. So we're AMC is becoming a bit of a premium, location. And earlier, now go back to the beginning of the video when I was saying I don't know, can we trade at the same price to sales as IMAX? Again, separating out a squeeze, please. Never let me FUD you. I believe in the squeeze. I'm talking about our fundamentals. For me, the two just go hand in hand. It's like if the fundamentals, help ensure the squeeze, we win all the way around, right? So that's the only reason I talk about fundamentals. I'm not trying to price anchor or talk about a squeeze. Okay, but if we become more and more premium, then actually we should trade at a higher and higher price to sales because we're going to get more and more profitable. And so that's why that really matters and why that's in the back of my head as I'm watching what Adam's doing as he's trying to transform the company. That's what the Go plan is. The Go plan is making AMC more premium, whether we're replacing screens, lasers, more Dolby screens, more Excel screens, more IMAX screens. He is making us a top destination and a very profitable destination. So that's kind of cool to see. But I love, and we'll talk again about that discount because he's also bringing us to the place where, okay, we've got the high-end consumer, but we haven't forgotten the discount consumer. And if we get both, I think we're going to start to have some real rocket fuel. And I'm pun intended. I do mean that. All right, so the box office for Q3, he said, hey, it's so-so, but he measured his words. He wasn't trying to be negative. It was clear. He was just saying it's just not as big as Q2. And I'll show you that. I feel the same. I honestly, guys, I just haven't wanted to FUD you, but if I was being real honest, I'm a little disappointed with the industry for in only 5 weekends, they put our 4 biggest movies, right? So there just wasn't room between them. If you look at Fantastic Four, Superman, F1, and Jurassic, right? That's 4 huge movies that came out in only 5 weekends. Now, it was kind of cool to see this last weekend, F1 went back to IMAX. I don't know if you guys watched that. And I did watch the numbers kind of jump back up for F1. That is just crushing it. All the movies they did well. Sometimes I kind of wonder, what if Fantastic had come out now or something like that? Maybe others would have breathed more. So, but I still think we'll be over 2 billion at the box office for the quarter, somewhere around there. So it's not some terrible quarter. I mean, hitting 2 billion used to be this like amazing achievement, right? So just think of how far we've come since 2021. And then, here you go. Here's the Q4 list he kind of talked about. So Tron, Avatar, Wicked 2, Running Man, Five Nights at Freddy's, Zootopia. We got SpongeBob, like I said, a bunch of others. So when I get to doing the Q4 forecast, that's going to be a lot more fun. All right, so Adam was talking about, this is really helpful, right? Because then we can, in fact, let's just go over here real quick. Adam said he thinks the box office will be $500 million to $900 million bigger. Oops, here we go. Year over year. You guys have seen this before, or at least some of you have. Just got all the details. So if we just think about 2024, we had basically 8.5 billion. Okay, so Adam's already telling you he believes we're going to land 9 billion to 9.4 billion for the year. And go way back. Long ago, I had started saying 9.5 billion. The industry had started saying 9 billion. So Adam's saying, hey, we still think we're in that zone. So that's making sense. I don't know what my overall number is for the year. It kind of flexes up and down, right? It's kind of a live forecast. So anyway, great to see that we'll have like a 9 billion plus year at the domestic box office. That is just a big, big deal considering where we've come from. Okay, what else do we have? So, right. So if you think about like a 12-month view, a full year view, but you know how sometimes I've published a rolling 12-month view, and I'd love to do that soon. I should. He beat me to it this time. He's talking about if you take out Q1 of this year that we had in the rear view, right? That was a rough quarter. Now think about Q1 of 2026, and I fully agree with him because you got the legs from Avatar, you'll have the legs from SpongeBob and a few others. You got some decent movies coming in. Q1 of 26 is going to be far superior to Q1 of 25. So Adam's just saying, take Q2 that we just finished, Q2 of 25, go through the end of Q1 26, and that full 12 months is just going to feel like, okay, we finally had a pretty decent year for AMC, right? And then from there, it starts getting bigger because think through Q2 26, we're back into some of the prime, like the Easter and the Memorial Weekend type of stuff. So we are going to be having from here on, right? So this Q3 we're in now, maybe a little bit soft, but then kind of from here on, we're moving up, and that's the tone he was striking, right? And so if also at the same time, ahead of Avatar, ahead of Five Nights at Freddy's, Adam and team have been getting us more premium screens and all of that. just think about what that starts to look like for our Q4 results. So I'm super excited about that. I love that he confirmed his point of view. Now think about too, you got me out here analyzing and forecasting, and certainly I'm going to be, I've been accurate generally, but I don't have the horsepower that the AMC team has internally in terms of the access to data they have, the access to the movies coming, the AI he talked about today, right? He talked a little bit about AI and their reporting abilities and their analytics. And so it's one thing if I'm out here saying, hey, I believe 2026 is even bigger than 2025. It's a whole other thing when he says it, and I just get a lot of confidence behind when he's saying, hey, the 2026 box office is going to be considerably larger. He didn't just say bigger. So if 2025, he's already saying like $9.5 billion box office. 2026, then he's saying much bigger still. We're kind of there, guys. I can just feel it. We gotta just force the issue with the shorts, but we're getting there more and more. Okay, we talked about per person tickets above 12. Food and bev, $8 a person. Man, don't sleep on that. That's like amazing, especially in that big of a quarter. Because think back all the way, I remember in April, I think it was, Adam had said, hey, when we start getting more people because the box office is bigger, maybe it was May, it was April or May, that he expected maybe food and beverage actually to potentially go down. Instead, we went up. Like these guys are crushing it with the menu, and we are all enjoying. And by the way, shameless plug, don't forget, I've posted this on X a few times. Don't forget that you can do Uber Eats. I don't know if there's DoorDash or anything like that, but you can do Uber Eats for your local AMC. So every once in a while, I've even just done it for fun with my kids. Like no joke, my kids actually think the chicken tenders at AMC are better than anywhere else around. Maybe not than Popeyes. I don't know what your favorite chicken tender place is, but I swear by the chicken tenders at AMC. So every once in a while for fun, I'll let the kids, like we'll just, if we're not going to have quite as healthy of a dinner or something, they can order, to our house from AMC, and then we're supporting the business, right? So if you feel like you have the means and you want to just support AMC, but it's not a night you're going to the movies, Uber Eats, bring some of that stuff home. Tell your friends. Anyway, all right, so balance sheet updates. He was reminding us, so if any of you like to go review the numbers yourself, or again, I'll go do that for us too. Remember that you won't see the debt pay down. We're actually lower now on our debt than what was reported in these numbers because we paid this $143 million of debt, if you're looking at my screen. I wonder if I can just continue to make this a little bigger. I don't know if that's not really going to make that bigger, I guess. It's not making the font bigger. Oh, well, sorry, guys. All right, so I don't know if it's small on your screens, especially if you're here on the phone, but we paid down $143 million of debt in July. Well, that's Q3. So you will not see that on the balance sheet until November when we report our Q3 earnings, which will be fun. But I do, if you follow me a while, then you've seen the debt pay down slide I like to show. I did already incorporate that on that slide. I guess you guys are seeing that I've got a message. I won't go check who that's from in case that's private at all. Got to think through what I'm showing on my X here. All right, anyway, so we did pay down that 143. So you'll see, I think it's 4 billion 0.009 or something was on the balance sheet. I saw it this morning, but take 143 off that in terms of what our actual debt is as of today, right? So you can just pay that down in your mind or in whatever spreadsheet you like to do, or as you're listening to me. So that's all I was reminding you of. Q4 25 and 20. Oh yeah, so he's just talking about, hey, Adam is predicting that we're going to show more of that operating leverage in Q4 and then all of 2026, really, he's saying. He said, these are his words. Sometimes I like to quote when I'm really quoting him directly. It'll be especially evident in Q4. What he's really telling you is, hey, next, is that March maybe, guys? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. When we've tended to have that first earnings report from the previous year, I want to say March. When it comes to next March and we're reporting numbers, maybe I'll figure out how to live, stream him by then, because that's going to be a party. That's what Adam's telling you. Like, hey, we're going to be having a party, and I do believe that very, very much so. All right, so then we had Sean for a while. Here's always where it's tough for me to type fast enough, and then honestly had someone coming in the room too, so I got a little distracted. I missed a couple things Sean said, but oh yeah, so he brought up the free cash flow. So here's where I said, hey, there's different numbers. I was kind of telling my wife these in the car today too. So in a recorded video soon, I'll try to parse out what all the different numbers really mean. Many of you probably already know, but some of you on this call, I'm sure, won't know. And so earlier I said cash from operations. That's just, all right, after I just look at operating activities, how much cash did I generate? That was the 130 some, right? Was it? I don't remember the exact number. I'd have to scroll back up. But then free cash flow is kind of for me, an even more important number that I track, and it's on that scorecard. So if you've been watching me, I don't know, the YouTube since 2022 or following me on X since 2021, by the way, reminder, I reposted on X, it was 4 years ago from yesterday to the day where I first fought with Jim Chanos. I had responded to something he said. I kind of called it FUD. He actually replied to me, and I'm like, there's a billionaire replying to me. And I had like, I don't know, 500 followers at the time. One of the many reasons I knew that AMC is the real deal. Like, why is a billionaire responding to some no name, on at that time Twitter? And the point is, at that time, I didn't like what he was saying about us, and so I made that scorecard. The scorecard I do every earnings. I originally called it the FUD Buster, and it actually, you have in a way Jim Chanos to thank for that, because I was like, I'm not letting this guy spread this false information about us. I'm going to actually show people, because I know business, what's going on with our business. So that FUD Buster, in part, I don't know if I should say credit. I'll give me the credit, but we'll give him the blame. How about the blame? We can blame Jim Chanos for the fact we have the FUD Buster. But anyway, the point is, I track free cash flow on that scorecard, as some of you might know. Right? So I'll put this 88.7 number. But what I want you to just pay attention to is when we have positive free cash flow, it is a fantastic thing. I love to see it. And I guess I even said love to see it in the post there. So positive cash flow, right? Fantastic. And we proved the point. And I think Q4 is going to be even higher. Let's hope. But I believe Q4 is going to be even higher cash flow. Sadly, we'll turn around the other way in Q3 probably, but that's okay because we have plenty of cash. So don't let anybody FUD you on that. Total revenue per person, the guys were comparing to pre-COVID, right? Because they want you to understand the thesis, and that was one of my very first videos. Again, I'll just keep highlighting because some people like to give you that label YouTuber. I was on X, part of AMC, all the way. I was in AMC December of 2020. I just made the YouTube late because I got tired of having to try to type everything out on Reddit. And I was in karma jail on Reddit. I couldn't post on the big, the big forums, except for a little while. Okay, I'm in the weeds. Anyway, here's the point. My thesis always has been, and continues to be, AMC does not need pre-pandemic box office levels to be profitable. And in fact, AMC is more profitable post-pandemic than it was pre. And so the guys were giving you one more proof of that, which is the revenue per person is up almost 50%, right? I mean, I don't know if I can call that almost, but 43% higher. So when a person walks in the doors of an AMC now versus 2019, they're willing to spend between food and beverage and tickets. And I don't know if the guys were counting merch. I kind of think they were not. But they're spending 43% more a person than in 2019. And I think if you included merch, again, I can't promise I'm right here, but if you included merch, I think that we're up even more because that merch business has come from almost nothing, right? So really great to see. And then we just need a little more box office and we're going to be flying. And I do believe we're seeing that Q4. And then I believe we're seeing it 2026. You got Dune 3 and Avengers and Star Wars Mando and just whole lot. Mario again, a lot of really, really big movies next year. I think Supergirl, we get more DC stuff. So I don't know. I'll do the 2026 video soon enough, but it's big. It's massive. All right. More comping to so they were also comparing to the Q2 of 2019, which was the end game quarter, right? That's the quarter to beat all quarters because Endgame was so redonkulously big. And so even though this quarter we just had, so Q2 versus Q2, just separated by 6 years, we were 35% lower in total attendance. Now remember, we've closed a lot of properties, and Sean talks. It's actually the next post, so we'll get to that. So we have less properties now. So don't be fudded by less attendance. We also have a more profitable mix of properties. So less attendance doesn't have to be bad if the properties you have are overall more profitable, right? But here's their point. We were 35% lower in attendance, yet the contribution, kind of the profit amount we make per person and even per screen was almost back to the 2019 level. we were like only single digits down, like it was like 4% down on one of those numbers, that kind of thing. So Sean was basically, again, sort of proving out we're almost back to 2019 levels of, I mean, the end game quarter levels of profitability, and way less people. So what do you think happens as we grow even more? Because the industry has only started recovering. Like, this was a nice taste. Q2 was a nice taste of the recovery, but it is only the beginning. We're going to go up from here. So, and I don't mean straight up, right? There's dips, there's bumps. Q3 is that bump, but still better than a lot of other quarters. But overall, that's the direction we're going. So, all right, since the beginning of 2020, Sean talked about our closures. Adam hit it later too. So I think Adam was saying we closed like 204-ish doors, but we've opened around 65. So I think the number that he said was a total of 139 less properties than we had, at the beginning of 2020. He may have said 149. So you can see, here's where I was losing him a little bit. But think through, if we've closed properties that were losing money, and then the ones that we've opened, these new ones that we traded out for, like, and Adam listed some of them, the Arcana, the Grove, Topanga, I forgot. We'll see that list later because it's one of my posts. But we are just doing we're way more profitable. This was something I thought about at Nike, guys. This was a normal, just very different business, right? But you have what you just call your product mix. And is your mix profitable? And sometimes you look at your, your cash cows and then your dogs, and you're looking at, okay, how can I cut the stuff that's kind of a drainer, what you call a margin drainer, and how can I add the stuff that's margin accretive, it's called. It's kind of a duh, right? You want properties that make money. You don't want properties that don't make money. You guys get it. I won't keep talking about it, but we've done that. So by the way, then, I guess I'm jumping ahead, so we'll just skip this post later when we see it. But Adam then did talk about 10% of our, was it 10%, or maybe it was 100 properties ish come up, the lease comes up every year. And he said maybe 10 of those we may still close for a little while. So it might be a couple years before we're done closing properties. I'm sitting here going, I even posted, and you'll see it in a minute. I'm like, I don't close mine. Full disclosure, Adam, team, I trust you completely. But do what you got to do to manage the business. But I'm admitting that the one I live near, I don't know, it's in the suburbs. It's not in some big city. It's not an IMAX property. I don't know how well it's doing. So I'm just hopeful they're not going to close my property. But, if they have to, they have to. And I'll just be glad for my stock. All right. So Sean gave a CapEx update. That one I didn't hear clearly. If you don't know, you have two main buckets of expenses. You have operating expenses. We call that OpEx. You have capital expenses, CapEx. Capital expenses is more like investments that then you can turn around and use to sort of reduce your taxable income. There are tax benefits when you can say, hey, this was a long-term investment. Like, if you pay a worker, that's operating expense. If you pay the electric bill, that's operating expense. If you do major construction, I have a feeling these laser projectors, if it's a long-lived asset, you can capitalize that. You can amortize it and depreciate it over time. And so Sean was just saying, but you can expect that as an expense too. So he's being transparent. He's telling us, hey, we're going to have these expenses that we're in. This is just the go plan. He's telling you, hey, the go plan, we're going to spend this $225 million. I didn't quite catch, you guys, if that was this year or if he meant, in the year rolling forward. So we'll have to see. And I'll go to their comments on that too, and we'll see. It'll be in the filing. You guys know, because you follow me, since the beginning of 22, our debt and leases have been lowered by almost $1.5 billion. So he's including deferred leases in that. But we paid down like $1 billion of debt and like $400 million of deferred leases. I guess this says releases, deferred leases, typo there. You guys know, during COVID, some of the landlords were flexible with us and said, okay, we can pause on paying rent, but then I'm going to need you to pay that back later. That's what the deferred leases are. That's just kind of a hangover from COVID, and we're almost done. All right, they talked about Q3. We don't need to keep going on that, but Sean even saying Q4 may be a post-pandemic record, right? That'd be awesome. That'd be that party. Okay, so Adam was talking about, he was kind of turning to more of a forward view. He was talking about the consumer mindset, and I love this. It was a question I'd kind of given to the team a while back, just sort of privately. You guys remember, like Q3 last year, even I was a little bit surprised by our attendance number, and I just wanted to know, like, hey, I love that we're premium. Obviously, IMAX is just crushing it. so's Dolby. But I did ask. So this is kind of not quite a year ago. Like, what are we doing? We don't have just one consumer. This is just my Nike background coming out. Like Nike would have said, there's a running consumer, there's a basketball consumer, there's a track. Oh, I guess I already said running, but there's volleyball, there's the mom who's working out, or whatever. And so, I had just asked the team what they were doing, and I just since then have seen nothing but good things from the team. I love what we're doing with Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and so you're going to see Adam talking a lot about that. First, he even said, and I didn't think about this before, but I thought it was really smart of them, that they were kind of saying, in the past we always called it Discount Tuesdays, but now we've rebranded that and we're calling it our 50% off Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So now the consumer says, oh, it's not just a discount. Like, I can go get half off if I'm showing up. Granted, it's like certain showings and you got to be a member and all that stuff. But I will tell you, I mean, if you follow me a while, you know that I've gone through my own little kind of tight moments financially. And so for us to be able to get to that, right now, sad to say, because I wasn't this for a long time. I did very well at Nike and all that. But right now, I'm a discount consumer, and I don't mind admitting it. That's fine. Have the humility to say that. And so we've gotten to go to a couple of matinee showings on Wednesdays, because obviously we're Stubs members. And so, getting that discount for my family, bringing my kids and all that, it's fantastic. And so I do think, it's a use case that hopefully is proving out. You want to think in business about something called cannibalization, right? Because if you're trading, let's say someone was going to go Thursday at full price, and then they go, oh, wait, I could just go Wednesday at half price. Well, now you're not really making more money, because that's someone who was going to come anyway. So that's cannibalizing full price sales for what you call off price sales. But so far, Adam talked a lot about, Wednesdays in the past were, hey, guys, look at trending, AMC. Someone go post my live or something. Sorry, maybe a selfish ask, but I don't know if we're trending. Maybe let's get some people in here so they don't hear the shills. So they can meet you guys, right? Maybe just to be in the chat. Anyway, so, Adam was talking about how Wednesdays are, have been the lowest attended day of the week. And no surprise, right? Like, if you're like me and you track the box office numbers, I'm tracking them every day for years. I've watched Wednesdays be pretty small. And, I just kind of accepted that as probably just part of the industry. But kudos to Adam and team for saying, well, why don't we try to supercharge Wednesdays? Why does it have to be so tiny? Why don't we keep attendance rolling through the week? And then what I will say, did he say it here? Yeah, here you go. Don't miss this last paragraph here on that post. Adam shared, and I'll admit, I had not even thought of this, that as they saw people, showing interest and energy, and we've seen it, like Superman, for example, I think had the biggest Wednesday of a DC movie ever, like an all-time, go double check this. I've got posts about it, so I may be misquoting what the record was, but I believe it's either for a Superman movie or maybe even for all DC movies. But I think it was the largest Wednesday for a DC movie of all time. And that was after we had rolled this program out. So I do believe it's driving attendance at AMC. Anyway, and so, so Adam just said that gave them the courage. I like that word he used. They gave them the courage, the confidence to say, okay, we've got our Tuesday and Wednesday discount locked in. Now, actually, we could differentiate and separate and even raise our prices on Thursday through Monday. So I'm kind of hopeful, guys. And he's saying, hey, we've only had a month. Let's say it's from the beginning of July to the beginning of August, that these guys are keeping track. And I will tell you, I got to meet Adam in Seattle, and I do see him as someone who he kind of is steel trap, locks in the numbers. Because I shook his hand. You know how you do. It's when he was doing all the showings. And Seattle's like a 3-hour drive from me. That was the closest he was coming. So I went and saw him, and I didn't expect him to know much about my property. I said, oh yeah, I'm over at that property, and he knew everything about it. He knew when AMC had bought it. He knew some things about it. So my point is, he's tracking the numbers. I know he is. He's watching that. And so just really cool to see that not only did we create this discount Tuesday, Wednesday, we've separated out and actually raised prices Thursday through Monday. And so you'll start to see this differentiation, I feel, which is, I just feel like it's fantastic. We'll have that discount market. We'll have that premium market. If AMC corners both, then what you're going to see is I'm going to start talking about our attendance numbers going up. And I think that's going to be really good. So kudos to the team. I'm loving what he shared there. So he gave some Stubs updates, because that was another thing I was curious about. One of my questions I turned into the team. I'm sure some of you were asking too. I just wanted to know, all right, so as we have this discount thing, you got to be a Stubs member. How's our Stubs membership? Are we growing? And so you see that he said, hey, we've got 36 million households in the US on Stubs. He said that's around 90 million people if you count everybody who lives in the house. So, I mean, geez, that's like a third of, well, not a third, like a fourth of the country. So that's really cool. And he was saying, hey, and then he was reminding us that they launched the new VIP level of Stubs. And so far in just 7 months, we've got 500,000 people who moved to that. Now that's got to be some of you who are seeing. I saw some of you seeing like 90, 100 movies a year, whatever. There's a couple accounts I follow on X who are at the movies all the time. I love you. Thank you for loving the movies. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being A-listed or now even the VIP level. But so we already have 500,000 people at that top level, and then A-list. His words, still a massive hit. He said A-listers are seeing an average of 30 movies a year. Love to see it, and obviously then if they're spending money on food and beverage, then it's not just about how many movies they're coming to. He reminded us, what you probably saw, right? I recall this probably a couple months ago. I don't remember the exact time, maybe only a month ago. But anyway, the LA Times and Wall Street Journal ran some articles about Stubs and called it like a cult-like following. But here was the which I don't think we all love the language of that, but who cares? Because what do they say? No publicity is bad publicity. I don't know. Maybe other than I don't know, FUD stuff from like Seeking Alpha and Motley Fool. But anyway, Adam was talking about how Gen Z, the articles were highlighting Gen Z and how much they were plugging into A-list. And so I think there's a point here where Adam was really pointing out, let's think through Ted Sarandos and Netflix and the people trying to say movies are dead and within a decade nobody's going to go. They continue to try to beat that drum, right? But now you go, wait a second, Gen Z, who's coming up, my kids are Gen Z, right? I have 3 kids. One of them's right on the line, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, but the other 2 are clearly Gen Z. So we're seeing the people at the age of my kids are getting A-listed, and that means they're plugging in and being, one, they're going to be watching movies for years to come. 2, they're plugged into AMC. So really awesome to see. So if you didn't see those articles, go check that out. Even if you don't love maybe the tone that they struck, don't miss those sort of truth nuggets buried in there that are actually really bullish for us. So that's what Adam was highlighting there. And then paid membership, right? So to get the discount Tuesday, Wednesday, that's free, but paid membership is up 15%. So love to see that. All right, so he was giving, up on Investor Connect. I love that. First of all, we all love free stuff. Do Investor Connect. I think it's pretty much once a quarter now. Like you get a free icy or free popcorn. I think one quarter I got the Dippin' Dots ice cream, and I gave that to one of my kids. And so actually, full disclosure, both my wife and I signed up for that because I felt like, all right, she's a shareholder too. So we have almost 2 million members of Investor Connect, and it's keeping. Basically what Adam was saying is, hey, and this is the way we talked at Nike too, guys, like any door, any on-ramp into our ecosystem, you give that to people because you want to bring people in and get them sticky with you. And not all of the investors were necessarily moviegoers, but now, hey, we'll give you a free Dippin' Dots. Come on over to AMC. Maybe they come see a movie. So love to see that the guys have done that, plus keeping that relationship with us. So just kind of win-win there for me. I don't know. This was interesting wording, right? I always pick up when he says something interesting. All of us are existentially proud of Nicole Kidman partnership. So that was just kind of interesting. He's just talking about that, saying we love that. And so do we, right? We all salute our queen. Seen some of you saying maybe there's a couple other actors or actresses you'd like to see. I get that, but love the Nicole Kidman ads. Okay, so he gave an update on AMC distribution. And gosh, if you're like me, I have been so encouraged because I will just admit, from Billie Eilish till now, we had a long, kind of quiet period on AMC distribution. And until the Eminem movie was announced, I honestly had kind of, even in my forecasts, I'd just gone away from it and thought, okay, for whatever reason, that's not working out. I don't know. I thought, well, maybe the studios, really threw a fit and they're working with all the artists. I wasn't sure. But Adam now, we released the Stans movie. Like I said, that got amazing reviews. It was like a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. Would love to hear numbers on that. I will just caution you all. Remember, it was an AMC exclusive, right? So it's not in all theaters. It's a very specific movie. It wasn't announced months and months ahead. So I'm not suggesting that's anything like what Taylor or even Beyonce was, but it's not nothing. And it is a signal too. And I love the signal of Eminem partnered with AMC. And so to see AMC have an exclusive, to see us have more distribution, whatever money we made on that, it's not zero. And so I love to see that. And Adam's quote here, we continue to expect more interesting film products in the future with AMC. And then later he actually talked more about distribution again, if you caught. He said, yes, probably as early as 2026. Actually, I think he even might have said definitely. So we're going to see more AMC distribution content in 2026. And he did hint, by the way, I'll get to that post later, but he did hint that it may not just be concert films. I don't know whether he's talking documentaries, whether he's talking even fictional stories, whatever, but we're going to have more distribution. And so that's fantastic to see. He gave some updates on the Go plan. So already started working on doubling the number of IMAX auditoriums. And he talked a little bit about how we're making sure IMAX has the nice laser projectors and all of that, just keeping that a premium experience. We're growing Dolby cinemas. What did he say? We're adding 23 in 2025 and 2026. So we're adding another. Something's wrong here. I'm pretty sure he said we're adding 23 this year. I don't think he meant 23 this and next year. Maybe he did. And then he definitely said we're adding more in future years. He talked about expanding house brands. So if you guys know the AMC like Prime and the XL, he kind of talked about those. We're going to continue to expand those. Well, actually, XL is the next thing. So we had more than 120 already, and they've just worked on better branding and getting that messaging out. We have an XL screen actually at my AMC, and it is way bigger. It's a bigger room, it's a bigger screen, and every once in a while, like when Spider-Man had come out, when Top Gun came out, when some of those types of movies come out, I like to see them on the bigger screen, and I will pay a little more for that. So that's kind of fun. So we had 120 by year end. We'll have more than 150 by the end of 26. We're gonna have 350. So we're definitely adding AMC XL screens and more lasers. So the Go plan is a go. It's been happening. So that's been good to see. Adam touting increases. He's basically saying, so just think like if there's 100 seats in a theater and only 20 of them sell, right? You're utilizing 20% of it. So he was talking a bit about capacity utilization, and he was saying as part of the Go plan and moving towards premium screens, we're seeing our capacity utilization actually go better. We're increasing, and I definitely love to see that. The less empty seats, the better for us. So that was a nice update. By the way, just as I'm going through this, again, this is color commentary. I'm just responding to what I heard from Adam and everybody. I will still go do the more like numbers breakdown. Like we'll do that. Probably I'll do that as a recorded video. I thought about doing it at the end of this. Maybe we'll do a little bit, and I'll do the scorecard and all that. So if you want to like end up with more of a hardcore business lens, objective, take the emotion out of it. I'm always committed to sharing the facts, even whether I love them or not. So I'll go through all of that soon enough. But today, just kind of like, hey, how did earnings go? How did we feel about it? Is kind of what I'm doing. All right, so he's closing his prepared remarks. I do like hearing from him, until we win, right? And, you guys know, I believe we will win. But until we do, I like hearing our boss say he's not resting. And so that's what he was kind of giving us again. There's still a lot more to be done on the path to recovery. But there's a lot to be happy about, right? So he's saying the resurgence of the box office is finally a tailwind. That's very businessy language. I'm used to that language. We used to talk about that at Nike with foreign exchange, tailwinds and headwinds, and just are things in your sales and helping you get going, right? So as the box office is growing, that is starting to help Adam and team, breathe a sigh of relief, I'm sure. It's getting better. And so, his words, the future is exceedingly bright at AMC. And then he's reminding us, he's saying, hey, remember what Q4 was last year, remember Q2 this year, that, even not on necessarily pre-COVID box office, we showed significant improvements in our quarterly results. And I believe I recall Q4, I'd have to go pull that up, but that was also cash flow positive this last Q4. And we're going to beat that this Q4. I think last Q4 box office was like 2.3 billion. We had some nice movies that people were showing up at AMC, but I do believe strongly we're going to beat that. Certainly the box office is going to beat that. I believe AMC's results are going to beat that too. So he was highlighting the operating leverage. Where are we? It's getting weird down here. I don't know. I want to see my. There we go. Okay. All right. So, Penny Squeezer, you were making the list. He was just full disclosure. He used to live near me and moved. I guess the outlet. Well, he said publicly on X where he moved. But anyway, so that's why I know him. He was an aide who lived near me, and we oddly we'd never gotten together. I don't. Maybe I'm oversharing here, but anyway, we happened to bump into each other in Seattle. So we lived here, but we had to drive 3 hours away to bump into each other. It's just, we weren't walking in the same circles other than both loving AMC. So yeah, I guess that's why he was showing up in my feed there. But shout out to you if you're out there. Anyway, so all right, so we moved on to questions from the analysts. Eric Wold, I swear he moved. I wonder if one of you remembers. I don't think that he was. I'm trying to remember where he was. I don't think he was B. Riley. Maybe he was B. Riley. Anyway, because this said Texas Capital, and I don't remember him being with Texas Capital, but I remember that name. And so he asked a question. I did see kind of real time. I had another screen up. That's somebody was saying maybe he and Adam were taking shots at each other. I don't know if I heard it that way. I felt like they were fair questions. You guys can decide how you felt. How did Eric, treat Adam? But I thought I didn't think it was that bad. Maybe I missed some signal in the middle of that. But anyway, so he was asking about the pricing and just trying to get an update on all of that. Adam was saying everything we had kind of already covered. So the better messaging on Tuesdays, Adam basically felt that's actually boosting Tuesday as well. The better message, or not better, the new messaging on Wednesday, that he's just saying overall early signs are encouraging. So I said Tuesday, Thursday here. So whoops, messed up. Took Tuesday, Wednesday prices down, but Thursday through Monday are already up. But I already talked to you guys about that. But then did you hear a couple weekends ago, Adam said we averaged over $14 a person. Now the Q2 we just closed is our highest ever, $12 a person. And he said we had a weekend recently that was over 14 a person. Like, good Lord. And you guys are all posting rockets. Let's go. All right. Anyway, so that was really cool. That, man, whatever the heck happened, that must be, was that Fantastic Four? Like, you guys can all correct me, but he must mean the weekend that Fantastic Four came out. We still had Jurassic, we had F1, we had Superman, we had Fantastic Four. Now I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth, right? Earlier I said I wish that they'd been more spread out, but clearly having all of those, having the premium screens, drove some high-priced ticket sales, and that's going to show up in our next quarter's results. So as long as our attendance is still good, and I do think they may have found the secret sauce with having the Tuesday, Wednesday discount days, now having the more premium Thursday through Monday days, I think there's a chance we're going to see our attendance be a little better than kind of the rate we've hit this quarter, but still have these high ticket prices overall. Whew, that's real rocket fuel, and I do mean that again. All right, so IMAX, he's saying, hey guys, when people come to IMAX, they're paying $7 more than a normal ticket. When people come to AMC Prime, typo there again, they're paying $3 or $4 more. When they come to see the 3D, they're paying $3 more. I just realized I left on my glasses. Usually for this live, I put on my contacts with you guys, so I don't get the glare. You're probably seeing some glare. I don't remember if I've worn the glasses for any of the lives. So, hey world, this is maybe the more nerd version of me. Although these are Nike glasses. I don't know if you can see the swoosh. One more leftover receipt of my 20 plus years there. All right, so the other thing that Adam was noting is those premium tickets are the ones that are actually selling first. So just really fantastic to see that. When I said earlier, are we cannibalizing our full price sales? Well, people are signing up and lining up to buy the full price tickets. So I don't know, good news there. Good news all the way around. So he had great answers for Eric Wold. And then I don't remember what Eric asked about food and beverage, but then Adam went on to answer about that. And so he was just talking about how we've continued to expand the menu and success getting more people to buy. I think somewhere in here, I swear he said, I don't know. Adam was talking about how few people actually overall still, this is what I said here. Adam's highlighting the opportunity to drive more attendees, because he was basically saying, I don't know, maybe only like 20% of people who come. I don't remember the number. Don't quote me on that. But only some percent of us who come, and it's definitely me, because I, ape, right? If I'm coming, I gotta buy the kids some popcorn and drink or whatever and contribute to our success. But what I hear as a business person is, man, you have something called an addressable market. And so if let's say I'm right, and again, I could be wrong, but if it's like 80% of people who are coming are not even buying any food and beverage, that is a huge opportunity, because they're coming to AMC's doors. Now, if Adam and team can unlock, how do I get you over to that concession stand? We're gonna go up a lot. So that's kind of cool to see. I don't know what he gave a baseball analogy. So again, I was like, I don't know where this is coming from, but he was saying, this was the thing about how many people are not buying food and beverage. He was saying basically the amount of people that come to AMC that actually don't even buy a single item of food and beverage. And now think, we just set an all-time record of food and beverage sales. So even at our all-time record, there's more people not buying in a year, spending $0 on food and beverage, than the attendance of any Major League Baseball team. And then he kind of went on to list in the American League or the National League. And I don't know. He's just having fun there. So definitely gives you an idea of so take the attendance of a given baseball team for an entire season and say that amount of people spending $0, just get some percent of those, right? To spend a little more on food and to spend anything on food and beverage. We got a huge addressable opportunity there. So loved hearing that from him. Now, don't let me overhype. They've known about that for years. So this is age old in the industry. When I was a kid, my mom didn't have much money at all. I was raised by a single mom. Sorry, Adam and team, I showed up sneaking candy in my pockets and all that stuff. You go to the dollar store and whatever. So, so I don't know. We'll see. Can they address that? I'm not trying to overhype and pump, but there's certainly a huge population who maybe just get 1, 2, 3% of them to buy, and we start to see some improvement. All right, Eric snuck in one more question. He was asking about the advertising. I had meant to post about this because I read the article, and if you really read the articles, so here's what happened, right? Like we had the announcement, you probably all are aware, where we started running more ads before the movies, right? And as a shareholder, not just a moviegoer, I'm like, yeah, let's get that ad revenue, right? Ka-ching. I immediately went to my spreadsheets and was like, how much money do I think we could get paid for these commercials, and started popping that in. And so I loved it. And then if you dig deep, I don't know if you all saw, we were actually running less ads than Cinemark and Regal before this. And so all Adam did was bring us in par, bring us, to equity or whatever with our peers. AMC popped off the list here. All right, you guys go pump AMC. we're not trending over here. Anyway, so so he brought us back up to where Cinemark and Regal were. So that's important for you guys to know if you're ever out there fighting FUD and people are like, AMC, too many ads, what the heck? All we did is equal what Regal and Cinemark had already done, and not only already done, but look what Adam said. They had been doing it for 6 or 7 years. AMC was the one who held off doing more ads. And then we finally said, you know what, there's an opportunity here. It doesn't appear to have reduced their attendance. So if people are attending Cinemark and Regal and putting up with the ads, why are we passing up free money? Like, we can get this money. And so as a shareholder, 100% agree with everything Adam said with that. And so the articles, and this is where Adam said, okay, listen, there's some correct information, there's some wrong information. Because if you saw those articles, they had come out and said, right after AMC agrees to these ads, it's already going back and reducing the ads. FUD was FUD, and Adam cleared it up, and I thank him for clearing it up. What he said was, what we're going to trim is not necessarily the ads. Adam even said, listen, we just signed a contract with National Cinemedia, but anyway, NCM, right? You see the NCMI charge in every earnings. And by the way, remember, that's a non-cash expense. Another reason you have a difference between cash flows and earnings, and often cash flows are better because you have a bunch of non-cash expenses. One of our non-cash expenses goes to NCMI every quarter. It's kind of just part of the deal of how we work that out. Anyway, so Adam said, hey, we signed a contract with these guys. We're going to show these commercials. But what we're cutting, and you can just read this post as I'm talking here, or you can go back and read it later if I scroll too fast. Basically, he said, listen, we can squeeze what he called the fluff. You got the AMC stuff about join Stubs and A-List. You got the Nicole Kidman spot. You've got, hey, turn off your cell phones. So he was talking about that. I think he said that's about 4 minutes, and he thinks they can cut half of that. It's probably just run some tighter ads, right? You can still talk about Stubs. You can still talk about Investor Connect and have Nicole Kidman, but maybe you tighten some of those up. So you trim out 2 minutes there. And then he said, what was the other one? I don't know. I'm forgetting. Maybe you guys can say it in the chat, but there's something else. Maybe I even have it in here. Oh, he noticed that we're showing one more trailer than our competition. And so I think he was saying there's a chance maybe we remove one more trailer. So between cutting our so-called fluff, cutting one trailer, we can find 4 or 5 minutes there, and there's your commercials. And so that's all he was saying. That is not us walking away from the commercials. And now what I want you to just have caught, he said multiple times, tens of millions of dollars. So, if you say, does tens mean $12 million? Tens to me is multiple tens, right? So 20 to $30 million, I don't know. But what you need to know is that's straight to the bottom line. And Adam said as much. So if I get to add to my forecasts, $5 to $8 million, let's say $5 to $7 million a quarter, boom, we just went up in profits by $20 to $30 million a year. That's supposed to go into our stock. I guarantee you it hasn't yet. And think about that price to sales, and in the future price to earnings. There's tens of millions of dollars that Adam just brought in because he signed a contract, right? And I'm down with it. So that's cool. We need to start factoring that into all the forecasts. All right. This was just my TLDR. Already said all of that. So boom. Love it. Somebody else. Oh, it's a guy named Chad. Turned out to be, and of course, if you're an AMC, you get the humor of a guy named Chad asking a question, although he did not act like our history with Chad. So I don't think he was Chad 84.0 or whatever. All right. So given the industry looking more profitable, Chad was asking, hey, will you start adding properties? Are you done cutting properties? Will you start adding properties? Adam kind of talked about the numbers. I mentioned that Adam listed some of, hey, since 2020, we've got properties we've added that are in the top 10 in the nation. So boy, we've done well at that. He said about 10% of the leases come up every year, figure 100-ish. You wouldn't be shocked, these are his words, if we close 10 of them a year, which, again, what Adam's saying is, hey, remember those profit drainers, profit adders? Maybe we should just rhyme. Drainers and gainers? I don't know. Anyway, that he was saying, if we're going to take away some of the profit drainers, the unprofitable properties, hopefully not mine, we'll see. Anyway, if we're going to take away some of the unprofitable properties, AMC will be even more profitable, right? So you're just going, okay, yay, I'm glad I've got a good management team that is continuing to look at that. But don't sleep on the next one. So Adam then said, actually, we've got people coming to us making offers on portfolios of properties, not just one here and one there. There's maybe whole small chains. They've got 10 properties, 7 properties, whatever. I'm making that up, guys. He didn't say that. That's my words. But he said on an M&A, so mergers and acquisitions, on an M&A basis, very attractive prices. He actually specifically said, I forgot to write it down, but he said, I think he said 3 times EBITDA. So multiples of, in other words, if we bought them, we'd already see the return on them way above what we're paying for them in terms of EBITDA. Now let's do a whole other video sometime talking about EBITDA versus net income and some of that stuff, just so we can understand it together. But you business minds out there understand the difference and can kind of talk about pros and cons about those numbers. But the point is, what Adam's saying is people are coming to us and offering us some pretty sweet deals. And maybe we're not ready, but he said over the next 36 months, you might start to see us move to a place where we're adding properties. My words here, groups of theaters, because he had said portfolios. I just think that'll be interesting long term. The guys are sort of shoring up the foundation, and then maybe you just very strategically add profitable properties. That's going to be real kind of cool to see. So the big beautiful bill, an analyst actually, I think it was still Chad, quoted that, so I was just calling that out. And he apparently there's tax breaks in there for capital expenditures, and this is just normal. I've talked about this in some of the fundamentals videos. basically the government tries to encourage investment in America by saying, well, if you'll invest, then we'll kind of give you some tax breaks. You can kind of recover some of your cost over a period of time. That's depreciation. And so when you see, remember I said a non-cash expense. When you look at our earnings and you see depreciation and amortization, what that is, hey, we invested a bunch of money, and over time, we get to basically reduce our earnings by that number. So it might make it look like we're not having as high of earnings, but it's just helping us pay less taxes. So you can totally argue, some of you will be conservative, some of you will be liberal. I'm not going to go political with that. You can argue about the pros and cons of, government stimulated investments, but that is our system. It has been for many, many years, many generations. And so there was a question to it. And what Sean said is, yep, the money we're investing, eventually we will see us be able to reduce our taxes by even more. So there is a tax benefit in the big, beautiful bill that will hit AMC. So you'll just see us get to not have to pay as much taxes from that if we're investing, right? That's the if. That's the what's the word? Stimulus it's an encouragement to invest. But Sean said, so I'm just saying, hey, for us right now, it's kind of a nothing burger, because Sean said we won't see any cash benefit from that until 2027, and then from there forward. So we don't honestly need to probably be talking about that a lot right now. But I'm just sharing with you what was covered in earnings. Here was one that was fun. This might even honestly be the biggest thing from earnings, because I will just confess, I can't believe I didn't think of this. But I haven't followed it closely. It's summer, had vacation with the family, been busy. Honestly, I got a big project at work that's taken more focus than usual. Pardon me, I'm going to take a drink real quick. Guys, I'm going to have to wrap up soon. It's almost beer o'clock over here. And we were allowing ourselves some. I've got an empty nest for the week. All 3 of my kids are actually at a camp. 2 of them are leaders, and 1, it's his first time. And so, empty nest, no kids. I'm going to have a little bit of beer tonight. Anyway, all right, so lock in, chat, because and my kids would cringe that I just said that. But for real, lock in, because this was mega bullish news that I'm going to try to kind of get out, and maybe you guys can share this, whether on X, YouTube, with your friends, whatever. You've followed the Skydance Paramount merger, right? So basically Skydance effectively, I'm going to oversimplify, but buying Paramount. But let's call it a merger. Adam, I see you, Phil, locked in. Thank you. Phil's with me. All right, so basically Adam was sharing, and I just had missed this in that merger. I had a friend who was actually tracking the merger very early on. Shout out to you if you're out there. Think you know who you are. I've appreciated this friend over the years. Anyway, so people have been tracking that merger, but what I hadn't thought about is great synergy, perhaps, to use a buzzword, if Paramount has a lot of great movies, right? Like we're getting Sonic, we're getting Top Gun Maverick, we're getting a lot of really cool movies from Paramount, but they've been a little cash strapped. So don't miss that. Adam was saying, hey, Paramount's been bringing good stuff, but was maybe a little bit tighter on cash. Skydance is bringing some movie know-how and expertise, and especially if you look at who's in charge of Skydance. I'm forgetting his name. Adam talked about him by name, and I do kind of know some things about him. I'm just forgetting his name right now. But someone with a track record of success in the movie industry. And now Skydance is actually bringing more cash. So don't miss this piece. Paramount, Adam's words, let's see Paramount specifically say it. Maybe we can do DD and go find it. But that Paramount will actually be doing more movies, increase the amount of movies they do, because now they've got more cash to make more bets on doing more movies. Man, that's mega bullish for us. So did you catch, like in the last few days, Warner Brothers said, I think they were targeting like 12 to 14 really big movies a year. That was really good news just from Warner Brothers alone. And they've had this run of success, right? I think it's the first time in all of history, you'll see a post from me on X about this over the weekend. First time in all of history ever that Warner Brothers has had 6 movies in a row that had a $40 million or bigger opening weekend. Weapons just was the 6th. Warner Brothers is crushing it right now, right? You had Minecraft and Superman and Sinners and Weapons, and I'm even forgetting, what else it was. But so Warner Brothers is saying, hey, we're doing really well. We're going to commit to like 12 to 14 big movies a year. Now Paramount getting more cash from Skydance. If Paramount's also going to increase movies, you guys get what you're hearing about the box office. Like the big studios are starting to say, we're committing to more of the big movies. Like, man, I'm mega bullish about that. That alone was worth listening to the earnings call And no offense, honestly, Adam, I really appreciate it if he ever gets wind of this. Really appreciated all the updates about the Go plan, how well things are going. So I'm kind of tongue in cheek, just joking. But that news, I just want to really highlight Paramount maybe getting infused with a little more strength on the cash side. All right, so then I was excited at the moment and repeated it. That's all there. All right, so AMC distribution updates. We kind of already talked about that, but that he said, hey, as soon as 2026, and he very specifically said possibly not just music content, right? Not just concert content. So we will see what that's going to mean. But I would just say we're not seeing anything until 2026. But great to see that we will have something in 2026. I'll add some small number in my forecast for that. I don't know why he got a question about AI. I'm not sure. That's not front of mind for me when it comes to AMC. But he caught my ears. Let's skip down. He mainly talked about operations, like even in my job. You guys know I'm a supply chain expert. If you're new to me, I'll even be teaching some college classes in supply chain this fall. And just that's what I did at Nike for 20 plus years. Now I consult people and I'll also teach. So that's kind of fun. And so I would just say I talk about AI all the time, right? You can't get away from it. Process optimization, process automation, blah, blah, blah. And so it's fun. He's talked about demand planning and inventory management. That's kind of my area. But, that's not what maybe, I don't know, gets us excited when we're talking movies. But great to hear that the team is, kind of tightening up as much as they can and finding efficiencies in operations. We do want that. But here's the interesting thing. He said they've been looking at making some small investments into some AI tech companies. I was like, what? And so he said, related to movies and entertainment. Just think about how we own a piece of Highcroft, right? So and this is normal. Nike used to do this. We owned like a 1% stake in this basically statistics company when I was there, and then just sold it back off after a while. Did some partnerships and stuff. So here's what I translated this as: pure speculation. I don't know. He didn't say that. But he said AI tech companies related to movies and entertainment. Maybe you guys saw, was it Amazon? I don't remember who. Somebody else was investing in like even content creation. That's on streaming, obviously. Don't love streaming, whatever. I don't know if Adam's talking about, some kind of content creation, and if ever anything is like, let's say, I don't know, goes viral, we could show it at an AMC. I really don't know what he's getting at here. Whether it is, I don't know, animation studios who are leveraging AI. Touchy subject, right? Like a lot of us want to protect Hollywood, protect creativity, protect sort of human intellectual property. It's a very touchy subject, but I do trust that Adam knows what he's doing in this industry. And so just don't miss that he said, hey, we're looking at potential investments and he said small, but some small investments into some AI tech companies around entertainment. I don't know what that is, but that'll be just a watch item. Maybe we get news in the future. All right, so he was then closing it out. We've reached the end, guys. Thanks for those of you who stayed with me. Great quarter, beat the streets estimates. Adam specifically saying, hey, we believe we're going to be doing this for a long time. In particular, and what I mean, kind of that upward trajectory starting in Q4 of 2025. So those are the numbers that get released next March. And talking about if we finally have the wind at our backs, that the sky's the limit. He talked many times about soaring. So I'll tell you what, we've had a long, I've been on these calls, Adam's call, my calls, for what is this, 3 hours now. So have you. So I think this is probably enough. I don't think I'll go do numbers right now. Great earnings, great day, lots to be excited about. I will follow up and go through more of the businessy numbers talk sometime here, probably this week. Don't sleep on, I've got that big, I don't know why I did air quotes. If you guys all watch the show Friends, right? I go, Ross doesn't know how to do, no, Joey doesn't know correctly how to do air quotes. That's kind of a funny one. Anyway, I do really believe I got something big cooking. Let's see if I can get that out tomorrow. Let's see, Wednesday. Probably do that first, then cycle back to earnings and forecasts for a few videos. With the kids gone, maybe I'll have more time, do a few more videos this week. So you may hear from me this week. Yeah, I just kind of glanced down, someone hearing about the family friend. Yeah, if you aren't on X, maybe you don't know, and I won't end on this because this would be too much of a downer to end on, but we lost somebody yesterday, a friend of my son's, so it's too young. And so that was a tough afternoon yesterday. But you know what? It was neat to see what other, maybe I'll even encourage you all, like have circles that you're in. And for me, that's a church circle. We kind of gathered up, basically kind of youth group type of people and a lot of families and friends. And, in those moments, you just need people around you. I tend to be the type of person who can kind of roll alone a little more. But just there's those moments you don't want to be alone, and you got to have support networks. And so I helped others helped me. Obviously, we're mostly there for the kids, and really more for this family who lost somebody young. So if you're the praying type, or even just the sending vibes type, I know a family who could really use it right now. They lost somebody. Excuse me, I'm getting a little choked up. Anyway, they lost somebody way too young, and you don't want to see that. So just send out prayers. I'm not going to end on that note. Let's bring it back up. Look, when I say I'm working on something big, I'm going to show you how desperate they are for AMC not to succeed. It's very, very clear to me. And you guys know that, but it's one thing to kind of know it in your gut, to have kind of see it with your eyes, but it's a whole other thing when all of the data, even the hardcore DD, just says, let me prove to you that AMC is one of the biggest nightmares they have out there. And I am going to show you that, right? So I've already kind of teased too much of that. I wanted to keep quiet on that, but at least the shills don't know quite what angle I'm going to come at and show you. And just think of all we've been through for these years. And the thesis always was so simple. I can hold longer than you can stay solvent. And if you were here in 2021, we saw so many hedge funds have to close up shop. And even Chanos actually unwound his business. And then he decided stupidly to go after Saylor. That's another topic for another day. But these guys are not in a position of strength. They like to project strength. They want us to believe that they're all powerful, but they're not. I want you guys to remember, this is a company that's not going bankrupt. This is a company that's growing. This is an industry that's growing. And here we are, millions. There's almost 2 million just in Investor Connect. You saw there's 36 million stub members. We're rolling millions deep. So don't believe that BS curse word about these guys having the power. Everybody's going to try to point you to the stock price, and they're going to try to just make you get negative and make you be sad and make you be frustrated. And I say nuts to all of that. We're winning, and you know that we will win. Should have ended this better. But let's go.